Now, how we relate to the things we buy is often reflective of our perception of the value of that thing and the value that we will receive in return. So we only decide that something is worth it to us financially when we have the means to, or when we're willing to find the means to, because that thing gives us a perception of value that we're willing to spend on. So it's about evaluating if that thing is actually something I'm willing to pay for the price it's being presented at, and maybe for the present moment as well, the moment at hand, the occasion at hand. Because our patterns are driving us to do what we do, especially if they are unconscious patterns that we're not aware of. And it's driving us to do things that we don't actually want to do. When you desire something and you buy it from a place of lack, that is coming from the belief that may or may not be true, but the belief that you need that thing in order to feel secure and sufficient. And when a good salesperson has done their job, or a good advertisement has done its job well, you will feel that you need that thing because you are in lack. Hello. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Nicole, your flow-based life and business coach, and I'm here to help you step into abundance in all areas of your life and ditch the hustle way of doing things. So in this series, I've been talking about what to say instead of blank. And I'm teaching you language patterns and reprogramming tools for your mind to help you elevate your life and shift out of self-limiting loops. So in this week's video, we're going to dive into some money-related language swaps. Now, the most common one that I hear all of the time is "it's too expensive." If you haven't seen my channel already, I do have a money mindset series where I do tackle some of the specific money-related questions and blocks that so many of us go through and give you helpful tips and applicable practices to do. So you can check out that playlist in the description below. Now, it's a crazy busy time of year. As of this recording, it is Christmas time, it is shopping season, and everybody is spending. Now, around about this time of year, it can get really tough financially. And this can be the case for so many of us. And yet, when we go into our day-to-day lives, not really knowing how to handle our own thought patterns around money, particularly the thought it's too expensive, it can get to the best of us, and we can spin out, go into scarcity loops, and feel really terrible for the fact that our money circumstances are not where we want them to be. But instead of getting ourselves into this mental spin out about money and not feeling like we have enough, what I want to do is equip you with the tools and the mindset shifts to make to help you shift out of the spin out of scarcity that often happens when you hear yourself think or say, "it's too expensive." This statement, "it's too expensive," is something that we often say so many times unconsciously, whether we're browsing at the shops or browsing on our phone online. And even when we're driving on the road, driving past petrol stations, or having conversations with our friends about the housing market or whatever the heck it is that we talk about. "It's too expensive" is a saying that so many of us are so accustomed to that we forget that we can actually change how anything we say makes us feel, including this specific sentence. So you want to keep watching this video if you're someone who wants to learn how to stop feeling so bad around the money and how to shift your language around "it's too expensive" so that you can continue to feel abundant all of the time, even when you are interacting with money and spending. So the first thing we need to know is that the reality of money is we use it as a currency or as a tool for exchanging our perception of value. We receive and give value, and money is the tool that we exchange in order to access it. And we also use money to compensate goods and services. Again, money is a tool for accessing. Now, how we relate to the things we buy is often reflective of our perception of the value of that thing and the value that we will receive in return. So we only decide that something is worth it to us financially when we have the means to, or when we're willing to find the means to, because that thing gives us a perception of value that we're willing to spend on. So that perception of value could be in the form of emotional return, could be mental, social, it could be material. There are so many levels that the access to a certain object, experience, thing, association to a brand can give us. And that's what makes it worth it to us. So we put our money towards what we personally value. And this is different for every single person. And this is important for you to know, because when we hear the word "it's too expensive," sometimes we are hearing it through the voice or the lens of somebody else that maybe told us that it was too expensive and we believed. So for example, classic example, growing up in an Asian household, my parents always said,
"Don't pay for parking because it's too expensive."
Parking is one of those things that we would rather avoid paying and have to park like blocks and blocks away than actually do, because it was deemed expensive. However, growing up as an adult, I have realized that for me, convenience sometimes is the most important thing to me, meaning I would rather pay for the parking that's too expensive to be close to the venue, especially if I'm running late. This is a classic experience for so many ethnic immigrant, maybe Asian specifically, people, because this is something that as a culture, perhaps we never valued. We never placed value on parking because, well, we didn't have to pay for parking back home or in our countries, and our parents never had to either. So when you really begin to understand where these "it's too expensive" cues come from and where maybe they're not your own, it helps you to navigate your way through the world in a way that's more empowering and to make money decisions that feel good for you and are in alignment to what you value. And so before we dive into all of the tips I'm going to give you, I really want you to come back to this reminder that it's really about what you value and how you want money to work for you. So in this video, I'm going to give you 4 specific language swaps to say instead of "it's too expensive." The first language swap, instead of saying "it's too expensive," you can say "it's priced higher than what I'm willing to pay for it." Making aligned money decisions is about making the spending of your money feel good to you. What's going to make it feel good is when it is in alignment to what you perceive is of value and is of worth to spend your money on. So for example, I might be willing to spend $400 on a hotel room, but someone else might be willing to spend $1,400 for a hotel room. In this scenario, perhaps the judgment of whether this hotel room is worth the amount of money that we're paying is really about our personal experiences of buying hotel rooms in the past. Perhaps my threshold has only ever been buying hotel rooms for $0. You don't get a hotel room for $0 unless it's given to you. But for example, anything less than $400. When it's $1,400 as someone's threshold, maybe it's that their perception of the $1,400 is worth it because it's a special occasion, or they historically have purchased hotel rooms that are within that bracket. And maybe it comes back to growing up. Did they have experiences where their parents purchased hotel rooms, or their siblings, their loved ones regularly purchased hotel rooms at that price bracket? See, for me, if I grew up in a household where hotel rooms were like once in a blue moon, and if we ever spent on it, they had to be on discount or on sale, and they had to fall within the budget category of hotel rooms, then clearly that's what's going to be familiar and safe for me. And my judgment of the $1,400 price bracket is going to be like,
that's so unrealistically high, and that is not worth it. That is too expensive.
But instead of creating that gap, because maybe one day I do want to spend on a hotel room for that price, for whatever reason, I can decide to change my thoughts and my language pattern around the saying "it's too expensive." So instead of saying that $1,400 hotel room is too expensive, I could say "it's priced higher than what I'm willing to pay for it." And that allows me to look at my willingness. And so this language swap is really about looking inward to what makes me willing. So maybe I do have the money, but I'm not willing to spend on it. Or maybe I am willing to spend on it and I just never thought to examine that I actually was willing. I think it's really important when we think about the certain life circumstances, for example, that change our behaviors around money. For example, we're willing to pay $1,400 for a hotel room if it's a special occasion, if it's a wedding anniversary, or it's a 1-year anniversary, or it's whatever, right? For an engagement, a proposal, whatever. We change the perception of that value based on that. So it's about evaluating if that thing is actually something I'm willing to pay for the price it's being presented at, and maybe for the present moment as well, the moment at hand, the occasion at hand. It's the same thing as me saying I'm willing to pay $40 for a drink bottle, but definitely not less than $10 or $20, and definitely not more than $140. It's a very similar concept. So I might have specific reasons for why I'm happy to pay $40, but not less than $10 and not more than $140. It might be something like, well, I want a bottle that's durable. I don't want just something super cheap. I want something that will do the function of what I need it to do. So keep my water cold or hot, that will have a handle, that will last me a couple of years, and will be maybe within these kind of brand categories. But if I look at why I wouldn't spend over $140, perhaps to me, my perception is, well, if I'm spending over like $40 for a bottle, it's likely that I'm gonna get the same thing, but I'm just paying to be associated with that brand name. Or if I say $10, why I wouldn't spend less than $10 for a drink bottle, it's probably because, well, I want a bottle, yes, but I don't want one that's gonna break next week, or that's just gonna be a waste of money because it's not gonna be good quality, or it might not be made of the highest quality materials and could expose me to XYZ, I don't know, symptoms or whatever. I don't know what's in water bottles these days, but you get the drill, right? So it's about evaluating as well, what is the threshold of what I am willing to spend. Again, it's about willingness. And when you ask yourself what you're willing to do for the result, the outcome, the experience you want, that allows you to take back your power and to make the buying decision, for example, buy the expensive bottle from an informed place, and to then begin to feel good about that decision. So does it feel good to make the investment? If it doesn't, how can I make this investment to this thing feel good? And perhaps the fact that it doesn't feel good right now is an invitation for me to just quickly check whether it's aligning to what I value and aligning to whether I'm willing to spend it right now. And I think allowing yourself that space to really dialogue internally is going to really serve you. Second language swap for what to say instead of it's too expensive is I don't value it. I've been saying it all throughout the first point, but if you haven't got it yet, it's about what you value. The only time you say it's too expensive is when you don't value it, when it doesn't align to your value perception or your internal value system. For example, back to the hotel example, I actually decided that I was going to spend on a hotel room over $1,000 for one night at one of Sydney's most bougiest, most expensive hotels for my business anniversary. And I did this out of a practice of self-love and a practice of celebration, as well as an intentional practice to get myself out of the broke girl mentality and into abundance mentality. So really, I wanted to use this experience of spending on something that I never would ever spend on to shift my belief that I was worthy of having nice things and worthy of spending X amount of money and not being attached to the money. I wanted to experience this spaciousness of being able to freely choose what I wanted and to use money to support that. Because for so much of my life, I had this broke girl mentality because I didn't have much money growing up. And I would see myself behaving in a way like I still had no options and I still had no money to spend, and just settling for things that I didn't really love, enjoy, or were of the best quality, even when I had the money. So I recognized that it was a pattern of behavior more than it was about the circumstance of having more money. And so when I had the opportunity to spend this amount of money on myself, I did it with intention. And so for me, deciding that this hotel room was going to be valuable required me to look at all these amazing reasons that I wanted to bring into it. It was about intention. And then I was able to look at this price of this hotel room. Even though it was expensive, subconsciously, that was the narrative that I had in my head. I decided that it was valuable for me to spend on it. I valued it because, and I inserted the reasons that I decided made it worth it. So I value this experience. I value this hotel room. I value paying X amount of money because it's going to give me this experience of being able to interact with luxury. It's going to give me a once in a lifetime opportunity that I never thought I would have. It's going to give me a glimpse into Sydney's most luxurious hotel and all these other things that really lit me up and made me feel excited. So it sounds very simple, but that's really all it is. It's actually very simple. It's about looking at what you are about to pay for or wanting to pay for that your brain or your subconscious is having a judgment towards, and then just bringing it into a conversation of like, what are you deciding right now and why? And it's going to be different because you are different. Me, 5 years ago, 3 years ago, probably wouldn't have been thinking in this way about giving myself this opportunity. I know some people who think to this day it is ridiculous and they would never, ever, ever pay that. I have friends who would never pay over $500 for a plane ticket because they just don't value traveling that much. But they would spend the same amount of money on fixing up their ute or their truck or buying shoes and building their shoe collection. Everybody is so different, and it's important to analyze what you're judging as expensive with what you actually value right now, because maybe some of those things might be outdated and maybe you need to check in with why it's worth it. So the question you want to come back to here is, what is it that you specifically value? Do you value keeping up to date with the latest fashion trends and latest shoes that come out? Do you value updating your iPhone or your device every time a new model comes out? Perhaps you don't, and you just think you do because everybody around you does. When you decide that it doesn't actually matter to you as much as you thought it did, that allows you to make empowered decisions for what is actually valuable to you. Other people might say it's too expensive to buy that camera. Why not just get a cheaper camera? But you might value lens quality. You might value the experience of holding a more sturdy, luxurious feeling camera, right? Same thing with the parking example. You might value being close by and being able to take your time driving to the venue versus having to park like 50 meters. Is that far? Let's say like 10 meters away. I don't know, but let's say you value parking 50 meters over 10 meters and you would rather walk and you would rather sweat and you would rather just like put in the extra legwork, and that's fine with you. That's fine. You might have friends that value that, but you also will have other people who value being nearby to the location and not having to do the legwork. Like, everybody's different. And notice as well when you judge other people for what they buy and you're judging them from the lens of,
That's so expensive. I would never buy that.
okay? Because you don't get to sit on your high horse and judge everybody else about what they're spending on, because that doesn't serve you. You are literally here just to work on you and to manage your own energy, your own emotions, your own thoughts. Outsourcing judgment to everybody else is really just causing you to feel more of the negative stuff that you don't even want to feel. Okay, so before I go on to the next 2 points, I want to remind you, if you haven't seen it already, that I do have a money mindset series on my channel that you can check out, particularly if this episode is really helping you move through your money blocks and relate to money in a more freeing way. If this episode also helps you, I want to invite you to my Money Liberation webinar. It is an online webinar with 3 jam-packed trainings you get to watch right away if you sign up. You can actually sign up to the workshop in the description below. It is completely free, like I said, and it is the perfect workshop for you if you're someone who really wants to experience money with more ease, who wants to no longer feel anxiety and scarcity around your money, no matter how much of it you have or don't have, and you want to just experience a clean relationship with money, particularly if your upbringing taught you to feel scarce around money or how you have a lot of shame and discomfort around money. This is the workshop you want to check out. It's in the description below. Okay, now point number 3, what to say instead of it's too expensive. I just don't value it that much right now. This is about time. The emphasis here is the timing of the thing. So sometimes when money can create sort of a triggering feeling every time we're relating to money, or we're at the cashier, or we're at the point of sale, I feel like when you have an unsteady or unsafe history with money, you often revert to like your fight or flight survival mode, meaning you're on this mode of reactivity instead of clear thinking and processing. Now, what happens when you're at this point of pressure? For example, again, some salesman is here and he's doing a really good job and he's made you feel really good and he's made you laugh, and now you feel obligated to buy his product even though you don't really want it. That is one of those high pressure situations. Another one is a sales clerk has helped you out so much and now they're really pushing for the sale and you don't know how to tell them no. So you're close to buying it. This is another high pressure buying situation. When you are, I don't know why I'm doing this. When you are in this high pressure buying situation, again, not being able to manage your mind or self-regulate your body can often create heightened stress and just elicit response from you that is not really in alignment to your highest self or in alignment to what you actually value and what you intended to spend money on. So, in these circumstances, I just don't value it right now, or I don't value it so much that I need to have it now. I think it's helpful because it creates space for you to step back and go, well, what do I need actually right now? What is in my order of priority of things? For example, Christmas shopping, everything is on sale and it's like the best possible time to buy everything that you need. But if you have a limited amount of cash that you've budgeted to spend on presents or on anything for that week, you're going to go way over your budget and you're going to spend on stuff that you don't even want or need right now, at least, if you haven't decided ahead of time what is of priority right now. If you know that you're exchanging gifts with your family next week, then prioritize getting their gifts. Or if you know that you don't even have like food in your fridge and you're trying to buy gifts for everyone, why not just feed yourself first and buy that stuff first? Go to the grocery store first, shut out all the distractions and walk right there, get your stuff, and then work with the amount of money that you have left budgeted. So again, this isn't financial advice, but this is a way of thinking. Again, I'm going to go back to the patterns because our patterns are driving us to do what we do, especially if they are unconscious patterns that we're not aware of. And it's driving us to do things that we don't actually want to do. For example, buying things impulsively, even though you don't need them, and then realizing when you get home, like, why the heck did I buy this? Why did I let that person talk me into it? No.
No!
They didn't talk you into it. You just went unconscious. Your brain went offline. You are not evaluating clearly. And that's because the circumstance where you had to invest money or were given the opportunity to triggered you into that fight or flight mode. When you desire something and you buy it from a place of lack, that is coming from the belief that may or may not be true, but the belief that you need that thing in order to feel secure and sufficient. And when a good salesperson has done their job or a good advertisement has done its job well, you will feel that you need that thing because you are in lack. And when you have that thing, you will feel safe, sufficient, beautiful, pretty, whatever, in trend, whatever, right? But it helps to create space by saying, do I need it right now? Is it something I value right now? Right now is where you want to be, because it helps you to self-regulate. Even if you just say, I'll think about it, I'll be back. And a lot of people will push you, especially if they're good salespeople. But you know what? You're just going to say, not right now. I just need to think about it. Like, I will be back. I will let you know for sure. Or maybe you're not deciding to come back. Just say, look, it's not resonating with me right now. It's not aligning. It's not what I came here for. It's okay. I get it. It takes a lot of courage to get yourself to that place. But starting with something as simple as I just need some space to think about it. I don't want to make a rush decision. And this will probably serve us both, because if I buy and I didn't intend to buy, then I might try to refund it and it would just be a chaos for both of us. Try to be as honest and transparent as you can. And I like to call this clean spending, because nobody's trying to rush you. Like, you're not here having to buy it right now. Okay, so if you're finding you have the thought it's too expensive and it doesn't feel too good right now to buy it, give yourself the space so you can self-regulate, get your body back to homeostasis, not be in this panicked reactive mode or in this people-pleasing mode where you think you have to buy in order to make them happy because you owe them. Give yourself the space and you will find that the decision will actually land quite clearly for you in that time. The fourth and final language swap to make instead of it's too expensive is it's expensive and it's okay because insert the reason. So these days, there are some things that we cannot escape having to pay for. For example, our bills, for example, subscription renewals for things that are overheads in your business, if you're a business owner, or petrol or groceries. There are a lot of things that have been marked up in price, particularly because of inflation, that we can have the thought and the judgment towards as it's too expensive. And as a result, we create friction between us and having access to that thing, even though we know we need to buy that thing eventually. So how we make this process, this transaction easier is by flipping that story and finding reasons for why it's okay that it's expensive and inserting things that we value on the other side of it. So for example, the petrol is expensive and it's okay because I value being able to get from point A to point B very quickly or on my own terms because I need petrol in my car, obviously. So it's inserting the value. I value efficiency. I value the freedom of being able to go on my own schedule versus if I had to catch public transport. I value just being able to go on a long drive, or I value, I don't know, whatever. I value my time. For you, this essential item like petrol, groceries, your home bills, your electricity bills, these things get to feel good for you to spend on. I actually recorded a whole podcast episode on this, and it is called Making Spending Feel Good. You can find this episode in the description. I will link it below as well. And I actually forgot to mention there is another episode where I talked about that hotel experience where I was having a mental spin out about spending a lot more money than I thought, but then deciding that I was worthy of it and all the unconscious money wounds that I had unearthed in the process. I talk about that in another episode called Positive Buying Experiences. Both of these episodes will be linked in the description below, and you can check out my money episodes on the podcast, which are different and unique to what's on this YouTube channel as well, in the description below. So remembering that when you pay for anything, you get an experience or an emotion in return. This exchange in money is your access point. It's your key to giving yourself access to something. Maybe it's peace of mind. Maybe it's convenience. Maybe it's time, getting your time back. Whatever that experience or emotion is that you're buying on the other side of that thing that your brain is judging as expensive, like petrol, you can decide to change that narrative with how you're giving yourself reasons that make you feel good. So the reasons that make me feel good about paying for petrol that may be overpriced, or the loaf of bread that is way marked up than I'm used to because of inflation, I'm going to choose to give myself reasons like, because I value nourishment, I value good quality food, I value being able to eat today, I value being able to get from place to place. So these are the kind of things that I want to call in with intention. And look, this isn't going to be natural too. It's not going to be easy, but this is where the rewiring the mindset comes in, because reprogramming your mind isn't just a one and done thing. It's about repetition. It's about rehearsal. It's about making it a newfound program in your system and building it in, solidifying it with not just the words, but the believing, the emotions that support the actual words that you're saying, and then actions as well. So taking actions that align to that of a person who does value their health, or who does value the convenience, who does value being close to a venue and not having to walk XYZ blocks to get there. All these things that you say you value, it's about bringing it into alignment and acting in alignment to it. Slowly and surely, you will find that doing this money liberation work and this money mindset work, you will experience spending money way more freely. Not like freely like, ridiculous spending, but freely in the sense where it makes you feel free, it makes you feel supported. Even when things are uncomfortable to pay for, like they're beyond your price range, or when things are expensive, you get to have this clean and safe dialogue with money rather than feel like you go into fight or flight mode and don't even really get to have the time to process or engage with what's going on internally around this money experience. So if any of you really resonated or aligned with this journey, I want to invite you to check out my TikTok or my Instagram as well. If you are someone who likes to have these kind of conversations and this topic is really helpful for you, I often release helpful tips, videos, thoughts, brain dumps, day-to-day experiences and examples on all my social platforms as well as on my podcast and my YouTube. And again, a reminder that if you haven't checked out the Money Liberation Workshop, you can definitely sign up for that right now and jump onto your money liberation journey, because it really will change your life. It's changed mine to change my relationship with money, and it has allowed me to feel so much more freedom from the inside out. And money really is just a resource and a tool for me, and it doesn't create so much stress and drama like it used to. So if you are interested in any of these things, click the links below and check out the description. That is all for today, my loves. I hope you enjoyed this video on what to say instead of it's too expensive, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye. If you want to take your abundance to another level, I want to help you. I'm a life and business coach for women who want to step into their next level by activating wealth from the inside out. To help you take your first step to unlocking true abundance and your aligned potential, I'm giving you free resources, workshops, and masterclasses that you can access on demand right now. Check out www.nicoleconception.co/free-resources to get your hands on it. For more videos like this, check out the other playlists and series I have on this channel, and don't forget to hit subscribe to be notified whenever I drop a new video. And if you're more of the podcast type, check out Freedom in Flow, where I dive even deeper into the concepts that will help you create less hustle and more flow, abundance, and alignment in your life and business. Now, if you're a reader, you'll want to subscribe to my email list for unfiltered, honest, and most importantly, applicable life upgrades. Now, don't be a stranger. Connect with me on Instagram and TikTok and send me a message. I love getting to know you and your story. It's why I do this. Okay, my lovely, that's all for now. I'll see you soon. Signing off, Nicole.